Alrighty, so welcome to Gate Crashers. We're a podcast dedicated to kicking open the door to your next favorite thing. Our mission, our creed, our code is this: we love to make all nerdy things more approachable and accessible to everyone. We want you to find a universe that you're going to fall in love with. My name's Amanda, and today I'm joined by Ryan Colt Levy, the voice of Roddy Soul in the new My Hero Academia feature film World Heroes Mission, and self-proclaimed Scrappy Wolf.
Did I say that at some point?
It's on your website.
Oh, yes, probably somewhere. Yeah, definitely. So I'm basically any kind of feral critter you could think of rolled into one. That's what I've often felt like.
Oh, I connect with that so hard. Every time I meet somebody, I'm like, I'm feral. Thanks for asking.
Oh, good. So you know.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, along with Roddy, you have voiced characters in Genshin Impact, Arash in the mega popular Fate Grand Order feature film, Squallow in the cult favorite JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Dr. John Watson and Moriarty the Patriot. And you've even done some voice work for the Final Fantasy VII remake. So this definitely isn't your first rodeo. But thanks so much for taking the time to come and chat with me today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. It sounds so cool when you say all those titles together. I was like, oh my gosh. Thank you. So you're so sweet. No, it's weird because I didn't even like when I get to do these things, I'm fully aware because I'm a total nerd and I love these things, but hearing them said out of someone else's mouth is a different perspective to my brain where I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
You're like, okay, I have done that.
It's so, because honestly, I say this to my friends and family, anyone who knows me really well, all of this is so surreal to me. This is so completely bizarre. None of this, nothing has fully registered, even from when I did Final Fantasy, none of this is registered.
I mean, that's kind of just one of the beautiful things about being able to do something that you're just so deeply passionate about that you could also just leave work and then go home and be like, and now I'm just going to do it all over again, but for fun. You leave your job where you're voicing all of these really cool characters and all of these really pivotal properties. And then it's yes, now I can go watch other anime because I love doing that, or I'm gonna go
that and playing games. Oh yeah, I have to finish Metroid Dread right now. I am I'm halfway through it right now because I'm also very excited because there's a bunch of games coming out soon. So I'm a big, especially because of the pandemic, it was actually kind of hard for me to watch passive media for a minute. It was too much just to just sit and take something in. I had to participate. So I was playing way more video games than I was watching movies or shows for a while. And I've always been a game nerd, but now I'm really up to date with stuff. So I'm ready. I gotta be ready for that next thing, man.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the pandemic is right when Animal Crossing dropped, and that's all I did. I logged over 1,000 hours on that thing.
No way. Wow.
I would be, the second I was done with work, I'd be on my Switch and be nobody talk to me. I'm going to do this all night long.
I'm impressed. I really enjoyed that game, but I never played one before. And I don't know that I would have played it had it not been, the state of the world. And I was I need something wholesome and feeling I'm hanging out with people. Yeah. I needed all of that. And I really enjoyed it. I played it for, I would say maybe a month or two, pretty consistently. But then it's been almost 2 years in the island. Everyone's left the island for sure. It's probably overgrown. It looks some gothic, Yeah.
I put it down for pretty much the entirety of this year because my brain kind of switched right back into I must consume all of the cartoons.
There's so much out right now that's so good.
Yeah, and this was the year that I actually really got back into anime because for a while I had fallen out of it I couldn't really find anything that I connected to. I kind of just kept rewatching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood like over and over.
Understandably so. Understand. Well, I think that's a really interesting thing about the culture of where anime is right now, and also kind of like, it goes in waves anyway of like, just like all art and storytelling and all these things. It's like what we're interested in or what is driving the overall narrative, like the kinds of stories that we see will tend to come in like groups.
Yeah.
And I think now, both because we're seeing like anime really hit the mainstream in a big way, like, it's like touched this before, but it's really like we're like here to stay now in a big way.
Yeah.
And I think at the same time, we're getting such a broad spectrum of flavors and stories and things all at once, where it's not just one kind of vibe, it's like there's something for everyone, like that's incredible.
Yeah, and like one of the things that we here at Gatecrashers ended up doing was like themed months. And so August was Anime August, where like all of our content was just like us going really hard in the paint for anime.
Perfect.
And one of our editors, he just presented me with a list, and he's like, what do you want to talk about? And he sent me a bunch of anime that I hadn't seen before, and one of them was My Hero Academia.
No way.
It had taken me a really long time. Like, my friends were like, Amanda, you need to watch it. You need to watch it. You need to watch it. You're such a Marvel head. Like, you would love this so much.
Oh, wow.
But I'm one of those people that's like, the more you tell me that I need to do something, I'm like, no, not doing
I'm
that.
literally, we are same. It's like you said before with the feral thing. Like I've always been a superhero like junkie, like ever since I was a little kid, just I've always wanted to be Spider-Man or whoever, and I've always been up to date on the Marvel movies. I still read comics like crazy. And I came to My Hero late with watching it. I started watching it in season 4 because similarly, I was like, everyone is raving about this thing. Like, it's almost too hyped up for me to even be able to like experience it in a way that I can just like have it be pure.
And just,
so
like,
I had to
enjoy
like, yeah. So I kind of like intentionally ignored it, for a minute. And then I don't remember when I let myself finally watch it. It must have been like, like 2 a.m. one night. And I was just like, I'm just in the mood to like, I want something superhero-y. Let's see what's up. And like instantly, I mean, that first episode is so, it's so everything, it's so funny. It's so self-aware. It's so pure. You cry in the first episode, like, without knowing any of these characters that well. It's like the message of what it is so loud and clear immediately. And I was like, it is that good. Okay, like here we go. Yeah. And then, binged it really aggressively.
There is truly nothing more on brand for me personally than like how I got into My Hero. Cause like,
oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Because my friends were like, Dan was like, do you want to watch My Hero for Anime August? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I had like less than a month to prepare for whatever we were going to do. And my friends were like, Amanda,
and this was this August, right?
This was this August.
Okay, yeah.
My friends were like, Amanda, there's like almost 100 episodes. Like, what? you're not going to finish it. And I was like,
you're like, you don't know me very well, yeah.
And then I binged it in less than a week. I was like, and I'm done.
it's that. I mean, I have since, especially since having the immense honor of getting to be a part of it. I have a lot of friends in general, since I've had this career, I have a lot of friends who aren't necessarily into this stuff, at all. Like whether it's anime or video games, like I was always like the extra nerdy friend out of my group. Like, even if I had friends, usually my friends are like film nerds, so like that's where we like universally geeked out. And then they would like play Mario Kart with me. But like, I was the one who was like going deeper. I was like, dude, in Metal Gear Solid 3. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, So this is kind of like, they've been really excited as I've been starting to do this work. And they're kind of like, oh, this is cool. And they love cartoons. So they're starting to wake up to anime. And they had, like everybody saw Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop back in the days. So they're kind of like, oh yeah, no, there's stuff out there we can totally like open up to. But My Hero became this like gateway where I can show it to anybody at any age, and there's something they're going to connect to immediately. And like my friends have already, because of the movie, and they want to see it and support it, they're like, so like, what do I need to know? I'm like, you should just like watch the first episode, and like, see what happens. And then like I'll get a text inevitably, like, maybe like a couple days later, a week later or something, and they'll be like, so like when Deku, like,
and you're like, yes, talk to me.
yeah, they'll start using, once I know that they text me with a name, I'm like, you're in.
Oh yeah, I love this show so much. I love this property so much. And just to sort of give a little background on World Heroes missions specifically, this is the third feature film from the My Hero Academia franchise, and it follows Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo, along with several other UA Hero Course students, as they assist pro heroes around the world in their pursuit to stop a mysterious group called Humorize, led by the sinister Fleckturn, whose deadly plans may yet bring around the end of Quirks as we know it. And debuting alongside this new villain, of course, is the rapscallion Roddy Soul with his trusty pink sidekick Pino.
I'm so glad you said rapscallion. That is exactly what he is.
I remember seeing concept art for him, and then like seeing his like full character design, and I was just like, I love him. I don't know what he does. I don't care.
What's funny is I mean, me too is obviously, but I, I've been a nerd of this thing for, a long time. And, the movie's been announced way before we knew about the dub or anything like that. I never thought I'd be part of this universe. So I just remember seeing like the trailers like a long time, like the stuff when they were first kind of showing up, and you were getting flashes of this character and we knew nothing. And I was like, this is my guy. Like whoever this is my guy. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but I vibe with that so hard. Mm-hmm. Never in my wildest dreams thinking that he would in fact be my guy.
Oh yeah, I knew going in. I do this every time I see a new property of anything. I like look at the characters and I pick one, and I'm like, that one. That's the one. I don't care how many episodes you're in. I don't care how much screen time you have. I would die for you.
Well, who was okay? But before Roddy, who was like, because I'm honored that means a lot. But before in the regular OG cast, because like I'm curious.
When I first started, I remember watching the opener, and I was like, Todoroki. Look at his face. Look at
his hair. Smolder. Yeah, he's the like, you could just tell he's sad, and just like you're like, he's just feeling so many things, but he doesn't want to show it.
And it's so funny because like he has such a traumatic past, and then like him actually talking, you're like, oh, you're so stupid.
Well, yeah. Well, that's definitely the thing. It's that like, and I love how much humor they put into the movie with him too, mm-hmm. and they really like hammer on that. And it's that David as well, who does the English voice for Todoroki, is so brilliant with how he just like he layers this like, I don't know how he does it. It's like, it's so monotone, but it's so full of emotion. And it's like this incredible combination that's so hard to execute. And it's like, it so matches his spirit. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful, like, just he really straddles the line of like, I'm going to give you that really like
dry,
intense, like I am the main character of your dream.
Yeah.
And then, like, he delivers comedic lines with just like such a monotone that you're just like,
it's perfect. It's so perfect. And it's that like, and I love also the backstory. Like, as you said, it's really tragic, but it's also really human. And like, it's as tragic as it is, it's not tragic in a way that like a lot of people have that backstory. Mm-hmm. It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
And I love, especially, this show handles this stuff so superbly because like his relationship with Endeavor, and, obviously not spoiling things for people who aren't watching, but like his relationship with Endeavor is complicated in like a really beautiful way because it's not just one thing. It's not just one emotion. It's everyone in that family is feeling a lot of things. And I think like, I'm really excited to see where they go with it because I think they're handling on like telling family stories within this larger family story is really sensitive
Yeah.
and self-aware. And I think they have a plan there that's going to be really special. I have no idea, but like it just feels like there's something there that like I'm rooting for them, you know, as a family.
Yeah, and what's so great about the show going into feature films is that like they don't lose that sensibility when it comes to character.
No.
Because like sure, we may think that like Roddy Soul's character is a much different character than what we're used to seeing, but when you think about the story behind him and the really human relatability that they give to him, it's so indicative of the show in itself, and it's so
Yes.
wonderful how it moves right into the movie. Like he's a bit of a deviant. He it's obviously for really compelling and heart-wrenching reasons. And he's not like particularly interested in heroes, but he's also not above using his cunning to get what he needs, even if it puts him in the line of fire and kind of labels him as a criminal. And like at the end of the day, everything he does is for Roro and Lala. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I'd love to know a little bit more about like what drew you to him as a character and sort of what drew you to this movie as well.
Well, it's funny because like in the sense of as far as like wanting to be a part of it kind of thing, I didn't know, like I didn't read for Rhodey.
Mhm.
I never knew I'd get to be a part of this movie. I got an email. So this is like a little backstory. I got an email from Colleen Clinkenbeard, who's the incredible, by the way, the extraordinary voice director and overall kind of like genius behind the English dub of the show and the films. We'd never worked together. I didn't think she knew who I was. I'm pretty sure she didn't know who I was. And someone was probably like, you know, twisted her arm to like send me an email of some sides. And one day I got an email and I got to read for some characters in season 5. And I was like I literally like my heart stopped when I got the email. I was like, oh my God. So my thought was like to get to be some like side character in a season like would be the dream of dreams. Like that would be extraordinary. And so I read for them, you know, gave them everything and kind of like sent it off and just was like, I'm never going to hear back from them. Like, at least I got the chance. Like, all I wanted to be able to do was like show them how much I love this in the, you know, in the work. And like 5 months went by. And then Colleen just emails me and offered me Rhodey. And I instantly just like started freaking out and crying and just having a moment, you know, because it all just like was so overwhelming of an idea and I couldn't quite process what was happening unto itself. And I was like, she doesn't even know me. And then we started working on the movie. And before, you know, like a lot of the times if you're working on a dub of a show or something, maybe the show is out to some degree, or maybe there's information from the manga or something that you can do research on the character and get a sense before you jump into your session to at least inform yourself on like, you know, the headspace you want to be in, whatever nerdy acting stuff.
Yeah.
But with Rhodey, you know, for all the reasons, like they didn't have that information out there. And it wasn't like Colleen was like, here's all the stuff we've been holding back from everyone. You know, it's like there wasn't, that information was just in the script in the movie, you know? So, and because we weren't doing it remote, I wasn't getting anything ahead of time. So I was just going into the studio and just like normal, you know, you just see what you're working on in that moment. So I was learning about Rhodey literally as we were working on it session to session. And it was insane to me and very clear to me that like I went from being like, she doesn't even know me. Why would she cast me in this thing? To being like, does she know me way better than like, you know, because everything that kept happening through the movie and with his character had layers of like my actual life in it in so many ways that are personal down to just like down to really goofy silly things like the shoes that I wear, like, you know, that I and the fact that I was like, you know, that I wear, you know, black jeans and these shoes like this, you know, and I tend to dress very scarecrow like in nature and all these things and just the way that I carried myself. And his personality and everything, not that I'm a criminal, but and my relationship with my family, and there's just so many elements. And I've had this necklace that my dad gave me since I was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
There are just all these things, not to mention kind of getting to be the outsider in the world. Like all of these things hit me on a really deep level, and it was like it kept happening moment to moment. So it was like this extraordinary gift that I got to do this, and it's continued to be like every single day and moment since I got that email has been just the most surreal next day of my life. Like it's wild.
I can't even imagine the kind of headspace you were probably in when, kind of just reading for side characters and being like, please just put me in like one scene, and like,
yeah, I'm like, just let me sneeze, please.
This will be the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me for the rest of my life, to suddenly, being the voice of a brand new character who is also like the secondary protagonist of the number 4 US box office opener. Which, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I mean, this is because of everybody. This is because of, and this is including, the Japanese cast, everyone that's created this thing. Like, this is so beyond me and us, right? Like, this is the fans. This is the series being such an extraordinary thing, So it's like, it's so funny because like I've been going crazy, kind of like celebrating this whole thing, but I don't know if it's even possible to make it clear because I'm just going bonkers, but like, I'm celebrating like all of this. I'm celebrating us as fans. I'm celebrating my co-stars, the engineers that worked on this, Colleen, who's worked so hard on this show for years, everybody in this like literally, I was talking about it the other day, how 2 of my favorite standout lines in the movie are one-liners from characters that aren't named. Easily. Like probably my 2 favorite lines, and it's like, that's how much dedication and love everyone puts into this thing. Is like anybody who gets a part where they're like, okay, you got one line and it's, blah, blah, blah. Like nobody throws that away.
No.
And that is like, that's the power of this show. That's the power of, the kind of people that work on this. And it's, all of that. And I got to see the sub. I'm sorry, I ramble. I got to see the sub, a few days before the premiere of the dub that we got to go to. So I got to sit in theaters and hear the Japanese voices and experience that. And it was so good. And it's this, it's the same thing. Like I experienced them on different levels. Cause obviously one is way more surreal to me, to like, I'm like, this doesn't even feel real, but both made me cry. Both made me laugh. Both made me even in different areas. Like, I love being able to share this on such a global scale with everybody. It's like, it's so beyond.
Plus ultra.
Oh, I didn't even mean to say that. Yeah, that's yeah.
But yeah, I got to see an early screener. Wrote a quick spoiler-free review, which we then pounced on you about. Which I'm very thankful for Dan, always really going balls to the wall like that. But I also ended up seeing the movie on opening day. I went in like the early afternoon because I was just like, this is the earliest I could go without completely blowing off work.
That's so kind of you.
Yeah, I needed to go. I needed to really see it on like a big screen because I was watching it on my little laptop. And
yeah, it's
I can't
different.
get rid of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there were a lot of people there. I saw a few cosplayers. I saw a few just people just chilling in their My Hero t-shirts, and I'm not sure how true this is because you can never really be sure. But I think I may have met someone pretty interesting when I went to see World Heroes Mission. At the end of the movie, we're just sitting there, we're watching the credits roll, and this older woman gets up and she yells, "Roddy Soul is my son."
Stop it.
I was in a theater in Westbury, Long Island.
No.
And she wanted me.
You're gonna make me cry on camera in an interview?
She just wanted me to, mention, just ask him if he remembers who sewed all of his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles costumes.
Oh my gosh, and my capes, like I had a draw of capes. I mean, oh my gosh. What?
Literally,
this is so crazy. That's that's mom. That's so mom, right? That's anyone's mom. No, that is insane. What? How does that happen? All right,
I have no idea.
What's even weirder?
The review went up, and we got to talk to you. We set a time, and then I went to go see the movie, and then at the end of the movie, I was like, "Excuse me."
That's insane. Wow. That is so crazy. I'm like, that is crazy.
I was fully just like, what if this is a prank?
what a weird prank for like some grown woman to scream that during an anime film, like at a matinee in Long Island, New York. Like, are you okay, lady? She's like, I'm just a really big fan. That's wow. So, all right. Some funny, bizarre stories. Again, like I said, like this movie has been a continuous gift. Like that's a gift. That's so insane. It also happened to my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad, because my mom went, opening day, my dad went the next day. And there are these two really lovely gentlemen that literally we did a similar like interview like this, but when I was like first starting to get work, a couple of years ago in the anime scene, and they happened to be fans of this one show I was working on that was like a show that nobody was really watching at the time, and they were like, would you want to do an interview? I was like, me? Like, oh my God, that's so nice of you. And they were so kind, and they were New Yorkers. And I was like, hey, New Yorker, and they've been supportive forever. Like we've become, buddies, and they've been supporting me for a while. And, I've never gotten to meet them in person or anything. And they see, I'm all verklempt. That hit me so hard, man. You were saving that for on camera. Just like knocked me. Oh. Whew. And so I and my whole family, we're like all in a group text and stuff like that, because we're just mushy people, and obviously. And so my dad is like, yeah, I'm going to see the movie tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Cut to the next day, and I'm like doing a couple of things, bouncing all over the place, and I get a DM on Twitter from one of those the guys, and they're like, we just met your dad. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we just met your dad. He was in the theater. And my dad sends a text to the group. He's like, I just met these two guys that said they know Ryan. He like took a picture of them. And I was like, this is the most bizarre, like incredible, like, what is this life? It's just madness, just absolute madness.
It's truly such a like beautifully kind of small world sometimes. And it's especially when you think of like, if this was a year ago, I wouldn't have been in a theater to see this movie. And
this was a year ago, people would still have no idea who I am. I mean, like I was, it's what's even funnier is to complete that like weird trifecta. Because my sister came with me to the premiere, but I know she's going with friends, so we'll see if she does the same thing and embarrasses me. But I went before the movie was coming out, like the week before it was coming out. I was with a buddy out for lunch, and I had like my have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah.
I had like my Sharon Tate moment where like we were going by like a local movie theater here that's like a cool like megaplex that I would see a lot of films at. And like, again, like this stuff has been, like has taken a while to fully register. So I was like, oh, like, I wonder if they're going to be playing the movie. It's like the last minute, like, oh yeah, that's a theater. Oh, right. Like, and he was like, do you want to go in and like, see if there's like showtimes or anything? I was like, can we, like, should we, like, so we go up the stairs and we go into the theater, and like, it's like quiet because it was early in the day. Mm-hmm. And I go up to the guy at the counter. I was like, hey, are you guys playing the My Hero Academia movie at this theater at all? Is that happening? And he was like, let me see. And he looked at it. He's like, oh yeah, next week is coming out, blah blah blah. And my buddy who was next to me was like, do you guys have a poster here? Just kind of like, And the guy's like, yeah, it's down, the hall once you go past the whatever. And he's like, can we go look at it? And the guy's like, yeah. So like we didn't have to buy tickets or anything. They didn't care. We literally just walked up. We could have like seen a movie.
Yeah.
But so we walk and like we go and see the poster. It was my first time seeing the poster like in a theater hallway, and I like freaked out. And he's like, I gotta take a picture. I was like, this is crazy. And then we just walked back. So it was like all of like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like, thanks, bye. And we left. And like they were probably like, man, those guys must really like My Hero Academia. Like
those guys must be really jazzed.
Must be really
Not
big
even
fans.
out yet.
Yeah. They just want to take a picture with the
Yeah. Like moments like that are just
That's
so
amazing.
much fun. Like
oh my God, I can't believe you met my mom.
I truly I can't believe it either. I was in the movie and I was like, wow, I'm gonna be late for my date tonight. And I'm just like living my life. And then at the end of this, at the end
you're like, I'm definitely gonna be late for my date tonight.
Oh yeah, at the end of this movie, I ended up in conversation with your mother for like 20 minutes, and I'm texting my boyfriend, and I'm like, I'm gonna be late. I'm sorry.
That's mom. Sorry.
Oh no,
she's the best.
She's honestly so cool. I love things like that. I love talking.
Thank you for being so sweet to her, and yeah, no, she's incredible.
Yeah, she was very sweet to me also, because I was just like, hi, I'm a random person who is gonna interview your son.
That's such amazing. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and like, so it makes me wonder, like, how did it feel for you the first time you ever like heard your voice coming out of an animated character? Because like sometimes I find it so difficult to like really like recognize my own voice, even on the podcast, where I'm just like, is that me?
Oh, interesting. See, I had the opposite problem where, because my whole life I even though I've been a film nerd and all that, I was a singer and a guitar player in bands from 12 years old to about 4 years ago. So my problem was the opposite, where I hated hearing my voice, so it was like the extreme version of hearing yourself on the answering machine kind of thing.
Yeah.
So getting into voiceover was so freeing, because suddenly I could separate from, these aren't my words, these aren't my thoughts, this is a character, this is a world that I'm throwing myself into, I can just take the ego out of it and go completely insane, and then experience this thing as a collective, instead of being like, I wrote this song, I wrote these lyrics, this is like, and just hear it be like, everything's wrong, like, and I just not have that effect. So like, and what's funny is a lot of the work that I started doing in voiceover was actually, even though it was dubbing at first, I was doing a lot of live action dubbing. So that's what initially like got me working consistently. And I didn't get to do my first anime for like I had been working full time in voiceover, and I don't think I got to do an anime for like a good year until I like, had that opportunity. And I love cartoons, I love anime, I love video games. So it was always like, I want it so bad, and getting to the first thing I got to do was a show called, and it's still on, it's a show called Welcome to Demon School, Irumakun, and it's amazing. It's so wholesome and wonderful. And yeah, this character Jazz, who is just similarly like another rapscallion, I would say. He and Roddy would definitely get along. I remember, I'll never forget the line. Like, I remember the line, like I'll always remember it. And I remember the recording session, and like, it was just that moment of like, this is really happening. Like it was similar now, it was a pinch myself moment, and I cherish it forever. And it's the kind of thing where like, I don't make light of any of this, of people giving me these opportunities and, trusting me with these things, whether they're, whether someone sees something as a big thing or a small thing or whatever. To me, it's all a big thing. To me, it's all a responsibility. And it's something that like, I want to love these things equally. And seeing it for the first time, like really hit me in a way where I was like, I want to give this all of me, like I like literally, because it was like, with dubbing, they play you the scene, like they'll play you, that moment in Japanese, and then you do a take, and then they like, they'll like make sure that it, sits, so they'll give you a playback. So like I got to instantly experience it in the session in the booth, and I was like, it was like such a moment, like and instantly it was like, okay, I'm giving this everything I have forever, if they'll have me.
I mean, after truly, genuinely, after really experiencing, Roddy, and like, he is such a presence in himself, and I feel like a lot of that can be said for like I looked up clips of a lot of the other characters that you also voiced. And like, I want to like make sure that I really get the full experience.
Oh, that's so kind.
And I think Roddy really, just from what you have described to me, like about yourself and about the way you approach voice acting, he feels like such an embodiment of a lot of different people and a lot of different really like present ways of being, in a way that something as fantastical as a superhero anime might not be expected to do.
Yeah.
And so it's just so much fun to be able to talk about characters and to really talk about like what you were thinking when you first discovered this character, when you first started talking through and seeing them come alive because of something that you were doing. I was surrounded by theater majors in college.
Oh yeah.
I listened to I listened to a lot of late night character crafting over the years. So I know you didn't have a lot of information on Roddy like when you first started. So is there anything about him that you personally built into his backstory that maybe fans don't see on screen?
Oh,
honestly, I went through that, especially I went through the cute little road trip montage he goes on with Deku, and I was just like, I could watch this forever.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I didn't like specifically. I think part of it was it all happened so fast. It was so intense. We were just like hit the ground running and had to just do the work. And I was also still like, is this real? Like, is like, and there's also like the very real thing of like, I promise you after every session, I was like, they're going to fire me and hire someone else. Yeah, I promise you, like that was a real thought every time. As much as I was on cloud 9, I would be having the greatest time of my life in the session. We'd be laughing and it would be a blast. And I would walk out and equally be like just high on life. And at the same time be like, they're absolutely going to hire. If I like when the movie comes out, it's going to be someone else playing that role. Like, and I won't be surprised, and so part of it was like, I didn't even have time to like emotionally do that, but I definitely, I feel like I would color in between the lines of like where things came from. I mean, I love, one of my favorite things that I remember, because I'm pretty sure we did it in the first session, was when he's escaping, when he's running around in the first scenario, and there was this very parkour moment, that was so impressive to me, because I was like, I'm trying to avoid spoilers here. It's like, while he's kind of maneuvering, and not only how efficient his maneuvers are, which told me so much about him. You know what I mean? Like in itself, just how quick and efficient, and like that tells me he's been, even before I got to the backstory part, I was like, he's been doing this for a while. Like I understand, like he's literally rebuilt his life to be this way. Like he's a trained instrument of needing to experience, life on the rooftops and this and that and all the stuff, and in the shadows and, in the alleyways, like this is his life. And then there was the equal sense of like what he was avoiding, which I was like, that is so impressive when you keep in mind what he is, like, like there are so many elements to it that I was like, this kid is really something special. There's so much going on in layers of him that, and I love the idea that it also, to me, I saw the repression, the self-repressed things, and like even not owning up to his own ability because he was too busy focusing on the task at hand, which very much kind of felt like what I was doing, which is just having to like focus on the job, and it would be that thing is like, as we went, I would get kind of like more emotionally rocked, because meeting the siblings and meeting, having that experience. I mean, yeah, the first scene we did, is his introductory scene with where they give him his tie and everything. And I didn't know he had siblings, like I did. So like,
you're like, oh, okay, there's two small humans.
Yeah. So like instantly I like that, like I was like, oh, this is the story we're telling. Like, and I cried a bunch of times recording this thing, just like not even like doing the lines, just like letting it wash over me, and also, not to mention, I have to obviously shout out the extraordinary Justin Briner, who like I had the pleasure of having in my ear for a lot of recording this movie. He had recorded most of the time like a day or so before me on a lot of the scenes, so I would get to play off of his voice and his performance, and it was like that in itself was such a gift, because he and Colleen so know this character so deeply, and every line, I mean, you've seen the movie, every line is just so devastatingly real and wholesome. He made me laugh and cry every time. It's so good.
Oh, that's really cool to sort of like get a little bit more insight to voice acting, but also just like how this particular process went, and to like hear a little bit more about Roddy and a little bit more about the movie, but beyond Roddy and beyond my hero, like, do you have any like dream roles, like, and are there any characters that you have seen like in anime or in video games or in movies that you're like, damn, I wish that could have been me?
Oh, interesting. You know what? That's funny. I thought you were going to ask that I like wannabe that's coming up. And I was like, I never get that. I never do that to myself because,
Oh yeah. You can't jinx yourself that way. We're going to talk about things that have already been, they're gone.
Well, it's like, I'm usually going to cast my friends instead in the things that are coming up. I'm like, oh, that so-and-so would be great in that. Like that's usually where my brain goes. Sorry. First part of your question was
like, do you have any dream roles, and not even like particular characters, but like maybe do you want to do another character like Roddy, or is there just like another kind of character that you're like, I would love to really sink my teeth into like that kind of story?
Well, I'm one of those people that like I get very like kind of like antsy if I do like the same thing too much, like. And I also feel like at the same time, it's like, how many different ways do I want to tell the same story? Like to me, especially like Roddy, like, how can I like like what an extraordinary gift to be able to tell this kind of story with this kind of character. It's like, I don't need another Roddy to have Roddy at all. Like, oh my God. But I think just in general, you ask any actor and it's like, we all want to play different parts all the time. And like, I love the idea of getting to sink my teeth into like something totally on the opposite end of the spectrum, and kind of like even something that's going to challenge me from my comfort zone of what I'm used to doing or what I think I, can achieve, because it will, I love that challenge. As far as like dream scenario, let's go scenario. I want to get into I would love to do like motion capture, like full on for like, some big Naughty Dog game, or like, I mean, Kojima, to work with Hideo Kojima would be like the ultimate dream. I want to get, cause I love theater and film, and, I want to get back into doing film and stuff as well. But to be able to do a motion capture, I think video games where they're evolving things is just so extraordinary. And to be able to get in that suit and play in that world with people, and then see it come to life in so this other way, and then get to play it like that's the next big dream for sure.
Yeah, I remember like recent. So this year was just the year of me discovering things that like.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're gonna tell me. Do it.
And so I went into a rabbit hole of another thing that my friends have been trying to get me to do, and I played Detroit Become Human.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were going to say either God of War or The Last of Us.
I tried The Last of Us, and I was just like, there's too much anxiety. I can't do it.
That game is anxiety, the video game.
So then I decided to go into like a choice-based video game.
Yeah, no, that's a really
5 seconds to answer questions. And like if I answered it wrong, I started a revolution and everybody dies.
Yeah, and you're like, what? Yeah.
So I went through that whole game, and just I of course went down a rabbit hole of like watching the motion capture things happening, and like I definitely see where you're coming from for like wanting to really do like a motion capture thing like that.
Oh yeah, it's so visceral.
So cool. It's so like it's almost more intimate, I think, than like a lot of other types of acting, because it's really just like not only are you using your body and you're using your face and you're using your voice that to then have that be the basis of a character. So it's sort of like this weird uncanny valley.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting. Yeah, and you know, it's, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with it. It's that you're so like alive in it, you know. And I think there's the stories that they're telling in that space are so deep, and they're so, you know, we're only getting started. Video games are like still in their infancy when you really think about it. But yeah, like seeing, I mean, I've watched a lot of motion capture, you know, behind the scenes on video games and stuff as well, because I'm just a junkie for this stuff. And every time I just get so invigorated and just want to like get in there, you know, and just get my hands dirty. There's something about just being able to like, because I'm very like, when I'm in the booth, depending on the character and the scenario, like I can be very stationary or I could be very physical. And like I like physical acting, and like if I have to, you know, do an action, even if it's for a cartoon and there's a microphone in front of me, like if I'm swinging a sword, can't just be like, you know, like I have to, you know, like I have to, I'm going to be
like, I'm swinging a sword.
Yeah. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us do, you know, it's like, you know, whether or not, I'm not bringing my own sword necessarily, but what's funny is actually you brought up Watson before for Moriarty the Patriot. I absolutely use a real cane when I record for him. Because I just, one, I was like, I can carry this around and not freak people out because it's not a sword, you know, like, you know, if anything, they'll be like, oh, can I get the door for you? You know,
you're like, yeah.
Yes, please. But it's incredible how like the right prop, because I don't have to swing it around or anything like that, but the right prop in that kind of scenario totally changes. Like being able to put my weight on the cane and stand in different ways sounds crazy to people, but like it puts me in a different physical and mental headspace to like play that role. And it is so dorky and fun for me to do that, that like, you know, I can't wait to get to work with, you know, props and stuff more in that kind of stage like zone, you know.
Yeah. And just, you know, you talking about it getting into like that different mental headspace, you know, the physicality of a lot of roles, like it's just because I don't see you doing it doesn't mean that you're not doing it. And it helps to really like get into it. And so I think it's just so cool. Like I'm
with you. I like literally like I play these games and I'm still the same way. I'm like, this is so cool. Like
yeah, like I think if you ever wake up one day and you think about the things that you're doing and you're like, this isn't cool anymore, that's kind of when it's like, oh, the magic has died. So it's just such a blessing to really be able to wake up every day and be like, this is my life.
It is there are times when I don't sleep because I'm so like, this is my life. Like where I'll just have run on days because I'm just like, I'm too excited to sleep. Like the best way I could sum it up, you know, like, cause I've spent most of my life working, you know, multiple jobs at once, just doing things like a lot of the time while I was in the band, trying to get the band off the ground. Cause I thought that was going to be my career. And, you know, jobs that I hated, jobs that, you know, and either way you do it, you respect it, you do the thing and you do it well. But, you know, I was really miserable and burnt out and stuff for so long. And it was that thing of, similar, like when you're a kid, it's like, you can't wait for the weekend because you're like, just get me out of school. And like, I was the same way with work where I was like, I can't wait for the weekend. And then suddenly I was old enough where I was like, we worked on the weekend too. And I was like, oh crap, and now I'm at the point where like, I am just living the greatest version of my life I could ever possibly ask for, that I didn't know I would ever get to. And it's been a couple of years now where I'm like, I can't wait for Monday. Like I wake up and like for me, it's like when Saturday hits, I'm like, oh man, like I gotta wait through the weekend to get back to work. Like
I was just getting started.
Yeah, seriously, like the weeks go by too fast for me now. And like now I'm finding stuff to do on the weekends to like have that sensation, because I'm like, I love this so much. And every day waking up, getting to do this is such a gift. And it's, yeah, Snoopy dances forever.
Oh, yay. So I like talking to people about things that they're passionate about. That's something that I really love about just this podcast, and also just about like nerdy things in general. Like I love talking to people about the things that they love. Because I really think that's the most important thing that we could ever really like talk to each other about. And it's such a great way to connect with people, even if it's not something that you're
sharing a part of yourself.
Yeah. And even if it's not something that you personally know or that you personally understand, like I love being able to see
well, that's how we learn about cool things, right?
Yeah.
Like I will always, I'm so with you. Like, I'm sorry, I totally cut you off.
Go for it.
It's that enthusiasm thing. Like for me, it's like watching a really great documentary on a subject you have no interest in. It's like 5 minutes in, if that documentary is well made, I'm like, tell me about this silkworm, it's I've been, turned on to so many things in my life that I now enjoy based on someone else's enthusiasm for that thing, with me having no concept of it and not thinking, whether or not it's for me or not, just having no presence of mind. And yeah, sharing enthusiasm about things with each other is where we grow.
Yeah. And it's been such a great time chatting with you about the movie and about Roddy, and
I can't believe you met my mom.
I can't believe I met your mom either. It was insane. But yeah, I have just like a few more really quick questions for you.
Yeah.
These are mostly fun questions.
They've all been fun questions, by the way.
Thank you. I was supposed to ask this question first, and then we had a great conversation, and then suddenly I remembered I had to ask it. But
I am the king of tangents. So
one of the questions we really like to ask all of our interviewees is, what's your favorite sandwich?
Oh man. You know what? I'm going classic, because I really don't have sandwiches that much anymore. But I really think when I like it was, once you said it, like I'm realizing it was like, it was in my heart before I even had to think. So that's got to be the answer, right?
Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
But
I heard that one a lot. I've actually heard a lot of like Reuben.
Oh, people are going, wait, no, like, look, like you can all have that stuff. Like those are like awesome to themselves. But like, if I have a Reuben, I'm having a nap. Like, for me, like, here's the trick. Peanut butter, however you like it, organic or not, you can get the whatever. If you like the crummy stuff, it's great too, crunchy, creamy, whatever. Same thing with the jelly. But the trick, those you leave either room temperature, cold, whatever, but toast the bread.
Toast the bread. Toast the bread.
Toast the bread, people. If you're going to take, listen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends all over the world, if you're going to take anything away from this interview, please toast your bread.
It makes every sandwich so much better.
So much better. And like you get,
I toasted a piece of bread and then put peanut butter on it. I was like, I'm never having peanut butter anyway ever.
I'm embarrassed to tell you how long it took me until I like did it. And then I was like, well, at least I'm never going back now.
At least now you know.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So Dan, there you go. There's the sandwich question. And so, okay. Favorite My Hero Academia. I'm going to say characters in like categories because I can't answer this question with just a singular character.
Sure. Thank you.
So, like,
neither could I.
Favorite pro hero?
Oh, I mean, honestly, again, I have multiple answers even to this, but because I might have two because of a caveat, and you'll understand why. Because like, does All Might count anymore?
That's a hard one for me.
So I'm gonna do two. So I'm gonna do the 2 in 1. I'm gonna sneak, because All Might to me is forever just the greatest, as everyone in the show agrees. Like, he's just forever the greatest, and the way that they write that character, just in general, what that character symbolizes, his humor, his heart, all of that, like, it's untouchable. I think he's truly one of the greatest characters in all of media. Like, forget about even just anime. Like, I think All Might is gonna go down as like one of the most legendary characters ever.
Absolutely. Every time I see Small Might, I cry.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And Chris is so good at doing both. But to now bring it back to like those who are currently doing their thing, I gotta shout out Hawks, my boy Hawks.
Hawks is so good.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Hawks and I hadn't caught up in the manga yet. So I was like, what?
Like, who dis? Yeah.
Why is he doing villain things? I don't want to do that. And then I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great choices all around. And then next is, who's your favorite villain?
Oh, I'm a Shigaraki man.
Yeah, I do love him. I love how,
first of all, his backstory, now that we have it, is so insanely tragic. Like, talk about tragic that we don't all experience. We started off as like, like everyone kind of has it. Like, people know Todoroki if they aren't one themselves. Nobody's had this kind of a tragic backstory, and it is so. It's the kind of like, again, they just do that thing where you're like, oh, dude, I get you now. Like, way more than before. Like, fair game.
Fine. Do what you're doing. And what I love so much about him is just a testament to the show, where like you watch him become a better villain.
Yeah.
And that like,
they're so clumsy in the beginning. The
hour that I watched an episode where I was like, oh wait, he's actually like terrifying now.
Yeah. Because he was, at first it was like, you got the sense that he was almost like he didn't know what he was doing, but you knew he was like angry. You're like, this guy wants to figure it out, but he has no idea. And they've really like, they've evolved him in such a cool way. I love. He's so scary. He's so manic and crazy, and there's so much hurt inside him. There's so much going on that like, he's such a layered. I mean, they don't make one-dimensional characters on the show, but he's my guy. Yeah,
I find myself going through the show and just being like, I love all of you, even when
also his artwork, like his aesthetic with the hands and everything, like even just like the original, like it's just such a cool, weird, like, it's so cool. Like,
he just looks dope. We all love a good villain.
Yeah, like whoever thought like hands would be so badass,
And then favorite student.
Oh, the kids. I've had a few. Like, it's changed so many times for so many ways, and like I have like favorite like combo friendships and stuff like that. Like, I love Tenya Ida. Like, I love Froppy. Asui's amazing. But I think, God, there's so many good ones. I mean, what's funny? I think I'm gonna pick Jiro, because being a musician for so long, like, she was one of those characters that I just connected to, where I was like, oh, they don't do this on other shows. Like, they're including this kind of a story and this kind of a character, even if it's not a front and center thing. And like the Hero 2 episode, without question, I know for other people as a filler episode, to some or whatever, like, that episode had me bawling because
fully was just crying the whole time.
Well, and it's like, and now that and now with like, with certainty, you've met my mom, so like, you get why, like, all of it was so, she was the mom, like, we had the band in the basement, like, so that episode hits me on so many levels. It's so beautiful, and it's such a, like, I love that it's kind of like this awakening for her as a character of like, just like self-love and appreciation, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, and I loved watching, something I really love about this franchise is how they give that kind of due diligence to each individual character. Like even
I'm
if
still
like
waiting for the Mineta. I'm still waiting for Mineta to get the full spectrum.
He's gonna get his due.
What's so funny is like that character I know is like, can be quite problematic for people. And I think they make them so endearing and so adorable considering what a deviant they are, it's like they really managed to skirt the line in a way that just somehow works.
Yeah, I definitely do find, like, even when somebody's like, who's your least favorite character? And I immediately say Mineta, I still find myself being like,
it's more of a caveat of because you put everybody else ahead because of XYZ.
Like, he's kind of just automatically because everybody else is like, hello.
You know what? I'm gonna blame it on the diaper costume.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm gonna blame it on.
Like Horikoshi has such great style and like such
that's why I love it, because it is it's so definitive, it's so iconic in its weirdness. But I think that's part of like what puts people off. It's like it's this like saucer diaper that I love it. It's hysterical.
Yeah, and like there is a character for everybody in this show.
There is. And I have to say, I met Justin Cook recently for the first time in person, who is Kirishima.
Yeah.
And I've always had a soft spot for Kirishima just because, honestly, of how Justin performs him.
Mm-hmm.
And getting to meet Justin in person, I was like, I now love Kirishima even. So Kirishima's like climbing up my ranks. Like
Kirishima's great. I love
that. His moment, his I will say, like his in season 4, him and Fat Gum, their episodes together, top tier in the whole show. Like they're up in some of the best episodes. Oh my god.
Fully sobbing, just like
fully sobbing. And Kyle Aber is Fat Gum, like
yeah,
the two of them together, incredible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we've been through our favorite characters, and so of course I have to ask,
sure,
if you had a quirk, what do you think it would be?
I've been giving, like, I have to change it now because I've been giving the same answer so many times, because I have like one that I really genuinely feel, but at the same time it's like I've said it enough. I'll come up with some crazy stuff now.
Well, we can also go with like, because I have two answers to this question, and one is this is probably what I would have, and the other is but this is what I want.
yeah. Well, that's what I've been saying is, like the real thing that I would love to be able to do is just have an ability to make everybody more compassionate with one another. Like real baseline, simple. We just need to be able to relate to each other a little bit more. It's not about agreeing. It's not about necessarily being like, you're exactly, it's just more respect, more compassion, more love in this world. So if I could just like walk into a room of, grumpy people and like snap my fingers and everyone could just be civil and have conversations instead and come to understandings, like that would be awesome. The selfish one is I would love to just like fill up this cup of coffee immediately.
Those are both very useful. I think of the ones that I want, like the first time I saw Present Mike use his quirk, I was like,
yes.
Oh, I'd be him.
I also feel like Present Mike, I love Present Mike. He's someone I want to go back and shout out to being like not appreciated enough. I feel like he's so fun. You know what? It's like the teacher gang in general, like it's hard. And like, again, it's hard for me to pick a favorite character because it's truly the greatest ensemble ever. Like I love everybody. And that is such a hard feat to have all of these characters who are so vastly different. Even like, I even love, the 1B characters who are like, the class B characters who like some of them are designed for you to be like, I don't like this kid, and yet I love them. There's just this kind of
Monoma, but I love him.
Yes, exactly. I didn't want to shout. I didn't want to call him out and put him on the spot. But but I mean, come on, like I love him. Like and it's that thing of that there's a reason behind everyone's personality. It's not just they're this because they're this. So I mean, Bakugo is such a perfect example of like it's easy to write him off as just this like loud, angry kid from the outside, but there's so much going on there. and it's wonderful. All of these characters are so beautifully loved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I every time I think about Bakugo, I'm like the person that's like in our Slack screaming like, just give him a chance.
Well, I was, I was watching Heroes, the sequels, Heroes Rising, right? I always flip the title. Yeah, Heroes Rising. I was watching that last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was before our premiere came out, because I was like, I want to watch that movie again. And that ending, man, like every time it gets me. It's so good. Like that moment is just so like, ah! And similarly in this movie, his last, like big scene is so epic. It is so good.
Cool.
It is so cool. And like, and Cliff, like, he's some, I've yet to meet him in person. We've like barely had interactions. He's been super kind to me, but like we've like barely spoken or anything. And like, I just want to tell him how much I admire his work in this character, because like it is so, there's so much dedication to that, and I don't think people realize how exhausting that character is to do.
Yeah.
Like, and how much that like really rocks your body. So like, yeah, that dude's dedication is.
I love that. That's very exciting to hear as a Katsuki Bakugo stan.
Oh yeah, know that he puts everything into it for sure.
Oh, awesome. And then I guess, of course, as I mentioned at the very beginning, if you had a Rube Goldberg machine, what would it do?
Oh man. Well, I guess I already make coffee with my quirk, so I can't do that.
Yes, you've already got the coffee covered.
Oh, okay. It would set up all of my home gear for recording sessions.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like it would be like my computer and the microphone, because like I don't necessarily have everything all set up in the same place all the time. So like that would be incredible. Is like, the thing just goes off and suddenly the computer gets set up, everything gets plugged in, it logs into the right accounts. I like that would be, give it to me.
What's so great is that like I was sitting here before we started thinking like, what would mine be? I don't really know. And then I had actually made the decision. I was like, I want it to be able to switch my computer from my work computer to the fun computer without me having to do anything.
See, we're very similar in a lot of the ways that we like to approach life. I totally see that. Yeah.
That's what happens when you're feral.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens.
But yeah, so Ryan, thanks so much for like,
oh my gosh, thank
joining
you,
me and like taking the time to chat with me. I know we kind of just accosted you on Twitter, but like,
no, I was so that's so kind of you. Yeah, I so appreciate, believe me, this, like, at any point when people are like, we want to talk to you about stuff, I'm like, are you sure? Like, you didn't need to, like you wrote me, right? Like, like, you're sure, so I'm so grateful that you asked and had me on. And anyone watching, thank you guys for watching. This is, I'm so appreciative. And anytime, like, you're such a joy. You are so kind.
Thank you.
You're so fun. I can't believe you met my mom.
Like,
that's gonna, like, I'm gonna call right when we're getting off of this. I'm gonna call her because she didn't tell me, obviously. And
she's going to love that, because honestly, for a good like 30 seconds, she was like, "You'll tell him, right? You'll tell him."
No. And like, let me tell you this, like, knowing my mom, it's so, like, knowing how long she's been sitting on this now for, since Friday, it's been so hard for her to not say anything to me. So like, I know right now she's like just waiting for me to like release. Yeah. Skin. So she just like, she needs to take that breath. So I will release her from that prison, that mental prison.
She's gonna be very excited. She's gonna be very excited that I actually held up my end of the bargain.
Oh, she will be, honestly, she will be honored. She will be deeply moved by it.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if there's anything final you have to say, if there's anything you want to shout out, anything you want to promo, or
just shout out in general.
Or just shout out.
Yeah. Does anyone just shout out, just blah? No, I just want to thank you for being so wonderful. And I hope that this show in general becomes gigantic in every way, because you are so delightful. Yeah, I don't mean my hero. I mean your show because you are so awesome. And we need more genuinely kind, people who are spreading good messages and who are easy to talk to, and who are willing to binge things so aggressively to catch up. My gosh, the dedication. So thank you. No, there's, I'm very excited of some really cool stuff coming up, but it's that classic actor thing of like all the cool stuff can't talk about,
Yep.
so yeah, just keep your eyes peeled and ears open, or whatever the least gross version of all of that is, but be ready for fun stuff.
Oh, we will be following. That's just what we do now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as always, everybody, you can find us across all social media platforms at GateCrashersPod. And don't forget to visit us at gatecrashers.fan. And thanks for joining Ryan and I today.
Thank you.